Chapter 10. The city of Alcuin lies 1 mile west of the forest of Trian. On the morning of the third day, 20,000 soldiers of Solomon faced the eastern walls of the city, less than 200 yards distant. The sun is rising. Jason sits astride a cantera and looks at the wall of the city. It stands 30 feet high and stretches as far as the eye can see. The walkway on top of the wall is filled with archers, bows armed and ready to fire. Katrin paces nervously between Aliana and Jason. Aliana is to the right of Jason, and Alan to the left. There is only one gate to the wall of the city facing them, as is the custom of the cities, one gate on each wall. The gate swings open and riders begin pouring forth. 8 abreast, they exit the city like an endless tide. 4 from each row ride north along the city wall, and 4 ride south until several thousand are amassed along the walls. They are followed by even more foot soldiers that align behind them.
I hope Mordek is true to his word. Otherwise, we are in for a battle we may not be able to win.
Not to worry, Princess. If he keeps his word, fine. If not, he won't live to regret it.
Aliana looks at Jason with a surprised smile at his use of the name Princess as the outflow of soldiers finally ends. Jolan stands on the city wall with the general beside him. A beaming smile is on his face as he turns to his general.
After that idiot brother of mine gets himself killed, you and I will take our troops and finish the job. Solemn will be mine.
Jason pulls his dagger from its sheath. Katrin roars in defiance and takes a position directly between and in front of Aliana and Jason. Mordek leads his charge, riding straight toward Jason. The soldiers of Solomon raise their swords as archers move to the front of the line and draw their bows.
Hold your fire!
Mordek reins in his cantera and motions for his men to stop when they are 100 feet from Jason. He sheathes his sword and his soldiers follow suit. They continue forward and blend into the ranks of the army of Solomon. Jolan's smile turns to rage. He screams to his general.
Kalen, ready your troops! We are outnumbered, my lord. Should we not wait and defend the city walls? Do as I order or forfeit your life.
Jolan's army amasses along the city walls, as had Mordek's. Jolan is in the front, eager to lead the charge that will kill his brother.
Attack! Attack! Kill them all!
The soldiers storm toward the opposing army. Jason again draws his dagger. Mordek orders the army to ready archers and prepare for battle. When the attacking army is 200 feet from its intended target, a blue light descends from the heavens. As it touches the ground between the opposing armies, dirt and rock and grass disintegrate in a near-shattering roar. Cantera bellow in fear, many throwing their riders as they turn to race toward the safety of the plains behind them. Aliana and Alan manage to calm their steeds, as does Mordek and Jason. The light moves in a rapid circular pattern, blasting a crevice 20 feet wide and 20 feet deep as it encircles the city. The soldiers of Alcuin, with Jolan leading the way, retreat and hurry to the safety of the city. In minutes, the light reaches its starting point and fades away. Jason, Katrin, and Mordek seem to be the only ones not frightened by the blue beam. Once inside the city, Jolan dismounts and leans against the city wall, trembling in fear. Gaining his composure, he hastens to the top of the wall. His mouth opens in wonder when he sees a crater that now separates the city and the opposing army. Again he begins to tremble. Jason looks skyward.
Nice shooting, Beth. Now what do we do? We can no more attack the city than they can attack us.
Don't worry, Jason. Like I said, the city of Alcuin will suffer little bloodshed. Talk to Mordek. Instruct him as follows.
Aliana is looking at Jason, wondering who he is talking to. Jason calls Mordek to his side.
You will enter the city. Tell Jolan that he has until sunrise tomorrow to surrender. His soldiers are to throw their weapons from the walls, and the gates are to be open. If he refuses, tell him to remove everyone from the vicinity of the walls, for Jeriah will destroy the walls 1 hour after sunrise. If he attempts to hold you captive, you have nothing to fear. By the time Jeriah completes her vengeance on the city, even the soldiers now loyal to him will turn to you. Go, and do as I have instructed.
Mordek stares at Jason in disbelief.
My lord, please. Such a ridiculous move would surely end in my death.
Jason glares at Mordek.
You accepted this arrangement under certain conditions. one of which was to deploy your troops as I instructed. Now I'm ordering you to deploy yourself in the manner I see fit. You have seen the power of Jeriah. Do you wish me to again call upon the power, this time upon you and the hapless creature you ride on?"
Mordek looks around at his men. His first thought is to call his men and turn against Jason. But he quickly realizes that in so doing, many of his soldiers will die and he will be powerless against Jolan. Doubt fills his eyes for a moment. Then, with a quivering voice,
No, I will do as you say.
he rides toward the city and finds an opening through the crater his Kentera can cross. Aliana looks with admiration at Jason.
"Now, Princess, we'll see what tomorrow brings."
They look deeply into each other's eyes. Aliana feels a warming inside her. She has never loved a man, but suddenly feels she may be falling in love with this one. Unwanted images of her being in Jason's arms comes to mind. Tender kisses she has never known brings a smile to her face. Impossibility and reality strikes hard. Aliana shudders.
No!
"What is it?"
Aliana whispers.
Nothing. Nothing.
She turns again to stare at the wall of Aliquin. The gate swings open and a rider makes his way from the city. After long moments, he finds his way through the crater and approaches Jason, right hand held high. He pulls his steed in front of Alan and salutes. Alan returns the salute.
"I am Kalan, commanding general of the army of Aliquin, and the emissary of Jolan, new sole governor of the city."
Alan turns to Jason.
Kalan is indeed the commander of Jolan's army. The reports we have indicate that not only is he the youngest general to command an army, but also one of the most ruthless.
Alan turns back to Kalan and points to Jason.
"This is the man you should be talking to."
Katrin rises to stand beside Jason's Kantera. A low growl emanates from her throat. Kalan looks in fear at the animal and moves no closer.
Jolan sends this message. The traitor Mordek is in chains. Unless your army leaves the city by sunrise, he will be executed. His head will be hoisted high above the city walls as a reminder to all of what happens to anyone who opposes Jolan. The soldiers who have forsaken their homeland to join you will have until the rising of Andros tonight to return to Aliquin.
Jason carefully appraises Kalan. Then he scolds.
"Kalan, belligerent fool that you are, have you not seen the power of Jeriah? Can you not see that it is neither a man nor an army that faces you? It is a god so powerful that she can destroy your entire city should she so choose."
Jason shakes his head in wonder.
"I have given Jolan the opportunity to surrender the city without bloodshed, but he laughs at me. Does he really think he will not suffer the consequences?"
Jason puts his hands together and raises them high toward the heavens, smiling inwardly at his theatrical display of reverence.
"Great God Jeriah, do you see how the men of Aliquin scorn you? Do you see how they hold your ambassador captive and threaten his very life? I implore you to send yet another warning to the people of Aliquin. Give them one more chance to overthrow their evil ruler and amend their ways."
The blue light again descends from the heavens. The gate in front of them disintegrates with an explosion greater than the first. This is followed by 3 more explosions in the distance. Kalan stares in disbelief.
"The city gates are gone. The city will fall at sunrise."
Kalan, terrified, salutes Jason.
"May I please join you?"
Jason nods and motions him toward the army, where several soldiers hold him and bind his wrist. Several minutes pass. A procession of 20 riders can be seen making their way through what had been a gate and then the gorge. As they near, Jason recognizes Mordek leading. He is carrying a large spear on the top of which is a head of Jolan.
Jason, I need you back aboard the ship. I want you to bring Aliana with you.
The soldiers of Aliquin who had joined forces with Solomon break out in joyous celebration as their leader rejoins them. Mordek rides triumphantly through the throng that has run to meet him to where Jason sits astride his Kantera. They exchange salutes as Mordek smiles broadly.
Prophet, I am very pleased that you were right in your strategy. I truly feared for my life when I entered the city, but I trusted your judgment. Joanne was more than happy to see me and had my slow and painful death fully planned for the entire city to watch. I was paraded in chains with my brother jeering and mocking me, but when the gates were destroyed, Joanne's own men attacked him and killed him, then freed me. Thank you for freeing the city, Aliquin.
Mordek again salutes Jason. Jason reluctantly returns the salute.
Join your forces. We have much work to do.
Jason beckons for Aliena to join him. They ride several hundred feet behind the cheering throng before they stop. Jason looks at Aliena. Her face is beaming with happiness.
It is necessary for you to come with me, Princess. Tell Alan we have things to do and we will meet him in Solemn tomorrow.
Aliena, still smiling, rides to do as instructed. Jason rides toward the forest to try Anne. In minutes she catches up with him. They ride through the forest, then on to the plain of Jamor. No words are spoken, but each are deep in thought. Aliena occasionally looks at Jason, smiling. His smile is as bright as hers. The sun is sinking low in the west when they come upon the ravine Jason had hidden the lander in. Aliena is startled when she sees a strange machine.
What?
Not to worry. Come with me.
Jason rides down the hill, dismounts, and slaps his cantera on the rear. The startled animal races toward Solemn. Aliena follows suit, eyes wide in wonder. She marvels at the sleek craft. Jason pushes some buttons on the back of the lander, then reaches for her hand as a boarding ramp lowers to the ground.
It's okay. Just follow me.
Katrin follows close behind as they enter the lander. Shutting the hatch behind them, Jason looks in amusement at Aliena, who is staring awestruck at the flashing lights on the control panels. Jason leads Aliena to the pilot seats and has her sit in the right as he takes the left. Katrin lays down behind him and closes her eyes in sleep. As Jason pushes the buttons at his fingertips, he smiles at Aliena.
Hang on.
Aliena's excitement turns to near fear as the engines of the craft roar to life. As the lander starts to move, she grips the armrest so tightly her knuckles turn white. Jason softly places a hand on hers.
This is safer than riding your cantera through the plain of Jamor. Trust me.
He smiles at her. She feebly returns his smile. The lander rises vertically for a few feet, then accelerates rapidly toward the forest to try in. The forest, now fully lit by the full moon of Andros, grows ever nearer, then disappears rapidly as the lander streaks over it and toward the heavens. Seconds later, the view screen changes its forward direction to look down on Terratoo. To the west lie the Uralis Mountains, still lit on the western side by the setting sun. Further west lies the Atlantia Ocean, still fully lit by the sun. A full smile and a look of sheer amazement is on Aliena's face. She realizes what Jason had said is true. He is one of the colonists. The thought pleases and calms her. The view screen changes forward again. Looking ahead, Aliena sees the beauty of Andros, and then, suddenly, the Outreach 1 comes into view, and the startled look comes back on her face. Jason deftly glides the lander into the docking bay. When the craft is settled and the engines quieted, Jason opens the hatch. Aliena and Katrin follow him through the long corridors to the control room. Entering, they are welcomed enthusiastically by the voice of Beth.
Jason! Aliena! Katrin! It's great to see you!
Then the view screen flickers momentarily as Beth presents a picture of a beautiful beach, complete with sounds of surf rushing gently upon the sands. Jason and Aliena watch in fascination as the waves come ashore. It is almost as if they are standing on the sand, and, for just a moment, Jason misses a very small part of his life on Earth. Aliena is enthralled. She has never seen an ocean, except from afar just a short time before, but the beauty of the vision pleases and calms her. As they watch the screen in silence, a woman appears on the beach in the distance and walks slowly toward them. She is dressed in a flowing gown, and, as she nears, the wind blows her golden hair softly behind her. The almost transparent gown clings to her body, held against every curve by the gentle breeze. Closer and closer she comes until only her head and shoulders are visible in the view screen. Jason and Aliena look upon the most beautiful woman either of them has ever seen. Flashing blue eyes peer radiantly from the perfectly formed Helen of Troy face with full, sensual lips and a delicate smile that reveals perfect teeth. Jason stares, awed by the beauty of the woman on the screen. Aliana, hearing the sigh that escapes Jason's lips, looks at him in alarm. She feels a twinge of envy that grows until it totally engulfs her. She does not like the way Jason, seemingly mesmerized, stares at the woman. She does not like it at all. Then she chides herself. She is not free to love him. She is bound by her oath. If this is an image dear to him, she should be pleased he has someone so beautiful to care for him. But she is not pleased. She is not pleased at all. The image speaks, and Jason immediately recognizes the voice.
Surprise! It has taken me a long time to develop this woman that I have longed to be. I hope you are pleased.
Jason is momentarily at a loss for words.
Yes, Beth, I'm very pleased.
Sensing for the first time the discomfort Aliana is feeling, Jason turns and tries to reassure her.
Princess, I would like you to meet Beth. Beth is our ship's computer.
Seeing the bewilderment on her face, he realizes she has no idea what a computer is.
Beth is the goddess of our ship.
Aliana feels a deep sense of relief and manages a weak smile in Beth's direction. Jason turns back to Beth.
Again, why have you brought us here, Beth?
Beth's smile turns to a frown. She searches for the right answer. The smile returns.
Because I missed you, Jason.
Jason remains quiet. Aliana walks to the screen and reaches her hand to touch the image of Beth. Feeling the smoothness of the screen, she runs her hand around a part of Beth's image in big circles. Smiling, she returns to stand by Jason. Beth looks at her in bewilderment. Beth again beams with a smile.
I've missed you, Jason, but I also wanted to meet Aliana and the new life form she has befriended.
Jason gently tapped his right foot on the floor, his arms folded to his chest. Finally, Beth's smile fades, replaced by a serious expression.
I have what I know will be bad news for you. When the gates of Aliquin were destroyed, Jolene had not heeded your warning. 230 people were killed and thousands more injured. Jiraiya has deemed that I can no longer assist you with the use of force to bring peace to Terratoo. You will have to rely on the soldiers you now have on hand.
Jason stares at her in disbelief.
Beth, 200 people died. I'm sorry for that. But what you are proposing could mean tens of thousands might die. What in the hell is the logic in that?
Forcing peace with the use of lasers would be an easy matter, though many would die. But to what avail? It would be a short-lived peace. How long would it last? 10 years? 50 years? 100 years? I must leave here before long, Jason. I cannot remain here as the sheriff of Terratoo. When the memories of what has taken place fades from the minds of men, so will the peace. Man is a warring creature and seems almost incapable of living in harmony with himself and the world around him. Unless the overpowering belief in a supreme being is deeply instilled into the hearts of men, lasting peace cannot be possible.
Jason and Aliana look on in wonder. Katrin, standing now behind them, begins to purr.
I will still be here for you, whenever you need me. I will use whatever force necessary to protect you and Aliana, for I value you above all the lives on Terratoo.
As Beth grows silent, a pleading look on her face, Jason begins to pace back and forth in front of the view screen, his hands behind his back and his eyes looking at the floor. Finally,
Beth, I think I've had enough of the problems of this people. They are not my problem. I did not create them, and it is not fair of you to ask me to solve them. I think I will take Aliana to America and retire there. I will do no more.
Jason storms from the room. Aliana looks at the worried face of Beth.
Where is this place he speaks of?
He speaks of another land, a land even more rich and beautiful than the one you live in. What you have just seen is the reason I had him bring you with him. He is a kind, sensitive man. In his heart, he desires only the love of a good woman and the opportunity to live in harmony with the world around him. I need you to talk to him, reason with him. If you can bring peace, and he still wishes to go to America, you can do so with my blessings. But without him, without you, the people of this planet are doomed, for Jiraiya will destroy them.
Beth pauses and looks in wonder at Aliana.
You're in love with him, aren't you?
Of course not. He came to me with words of bringing peace to our land. I promised I would help him in any way I can, for that is what I have always wanted.
Yes, you do love him. And I might add, he's very lucky to have won the heart of such a beautiful and fiery woman. Will you help me? Please? Without Jason, I am powerless on Terratoo. And without Jason, your world is doomed.
I think what you want is what he wants. I know it is what I want. I will change his mind. I have never seen him angry before, but I will calm him.
Aliana hurriedly leaves the control room in the same direction Jason had left, Katrin at her heels. In a moment, she returns with a frustrated look.
If you will but direct me to where he is.
In the conference room, Jason is staring intently at the view screen. Andro spills the screen and looks so close you could touch it. Aliana enters the room and, for a moment, looks at the image of Andros. Then she looks at Jason. A warm feeling fills her body and she knows Beth is right. She does love him. She walks up behind Jason and wraps her arms gently around his waist. Then she lays her head against his shoulders, then squeezes him tightly as she whispers,
There is nothing you cannot do if you but set your mind to it.
Jason, a surprised and pleased look on his face, places his hands on hers, then turns and pulls her willing body tightly to him. He lifts her chin and gazes for moments into her eyes. His lips finds hers, soft and yielding. After several moments, their lips part and they look deeply into each other's eyes.
This is really important to you, isn't it, Princess? This bringing of peace to your world?
Aliana nods, then whispers.
Yes.
Jason lifts her swiftly from her feet and twirls her in a wide circle, a smile on his face. As he sets her to her feet, he exclaims,
Then we have work that we must do.
Katrin comes beside them and softly rubs against their legs. Aliana and Jason each smile and reach down to rub behind her ears. In the control room, Beth's image jumps for joy on the view screen. Chapter 11. The next morning, Jason pilots the lander over a dense forest in America. Aliana rides in excitement beside him. They pass over a wide plain and a herd of animals stampede in the grasses below.
What strange animals! They look almost like Kantara, but they have horns, like Hatel.
The lander passes from the plains and rises sharply to cross snow-capped mountains.
It is all so beautiful.
Yes, not as beautiful as you, Princess.
Aliana smiles as she turns to Jason.
I am not a princess, Jason. I am a governor's daughter, not the daughter of a king, and no one has called me that except Jonathan, my mentor and my teacher. He was the wisest man and the dearest friend. I miss him terribly.
She lowers her head as her smile fades.
He died 3 years ago. I miss him so much.
Jason looks at her, deep concern in his eyes. He gently places his hand on hers.
I am sorry. I didn't mean to bring back memories. It's just that I feel as if I'm living in a fairy tale, and you are my princess, the love I have searched for.
Aliana's sad face turns to a smile as she squeezes his hand. The mountains pass below them and Jason drops the lander to the beaches and the ocean that stretch beyond. Once over the ocean, he arcs the lander back over the beach and deftly lands on the white sand 100 feet from the ocean. The trio leave the lander. For a few moments, Aliana marvels at the sand in the ocean before her as Katrin runs off along the beach.
Take off your boots.
What?
Take off your boots.
Jason sits in the sand and quickly unties and removes his boots. Aliana follows his example. The waves flow gently onto the shore as countless ocean birds swoop and sound their musical calls not far distant. Jason and Aliana run in the sand toward the ocean. Hand in hand, they scream in glee as they race many feet into the ocean. When waist deep, Jason splashes water in Aliana's face, then runs for the shore. Katrin bounces along the water's edge, chasing birds she has no desire to catch, as each time she has one in her grasp, she releases it. As Jason reaches the sand, Aliana is not far behind him. She throws her arms around his neck and kisses him deeply. She then pulls from him and whispers,
I love you.
I love you.
Aliana pulls from Jason and runs frolicking toward Katrin. Jason smiles and sits down in the sand as he clasps his hands and whispers,
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Jariah.
The sun is low in the sky as Jason lands in the same ravine he had previously landed on in the plain of Jamor. He and Aliana stroll hand in hand with Katrin a few feet in front as they walk to Solemn. A half-mile from the city, they are alarmed by the endless throng of people that rush from the city gate toward them as cheering thousands line the city walls. In minutes, they are on the shoulders of strong men as the cheering continues and they are carried through the city gate. Aliana laughs and shakes her fist in triumph. Katrin chooses to stay close to her friends. This in itself keeps a large distance between the soldiers carrying Aliana and Jason and the crowd that cheers. Once inside the city, a vanguard of soldiers keeps the crowd at a wide berth as Jason and Aliana are carried to the palace steps. There they are placed to walk on their own. Katrin quickly runs to get between them as they walk up the steps. Later, they are guests of honor for a celebration. The dining hall is massive with 15 large tables, each seating 10 people. Each table is lined with dignitaries in fine clothing. Jason and Aliana, along with Alan, Mordek, Milas, and top 10 government officials, are seated at the larger round table that is in the front. Katrin lies, ever alert, just inside the door. Several hundred people stand along the circular walls of the room observing the feast. They are not invited guests and can only watch the dining and ceremony that follows. Most everyone has completed eating and are happily talking amongst themselves. Milas stands, holding a glass of the liquid Jason had tasted in the forest in his meeting with Mordek. He holds the glass high in the air and swings it in a circular fashion as he exclaims,
A toast to Jason, prophet of the great god Jariah. May his life be long and prosperous, and may his God always smile upon him.
Those sitting around the table stand and raise their glasses and shout, Jason! The throngs around the walls cheer. Jason waits until the room quiets, then slowly stands. He looks around the room and then brings his attention to Milas.
Thank you. I only hope that when all has been said and done in the weeks to follow, that you will still feel the same.
Milas beams with pleasure as he again swings his glass in a wide circle.
We are victorious. Jolan is dead, and there is peace between Solemn and Alcuin. What more is there?
Jason looks solemnly at the governor, then addresses the assembly around him.
Peace between Solemn and Alcuin is not enough. There must be peace between all cities of Terratoo, and there must be freedom for all the people. The battle has just begun. Next week, we march against Pittsburgh. The week after, San Francisco. Then New Delhi. We will continue until all the cities of Terratoo are united under one government, and all are free from slavery and tyrannical kings and governors.
He slams his fist on the table.
We will not stop until all men live in equality.
Roaring cheers again erupt in the dining hall. Milas, Mordek, and the elite few that dined with them remain silent, looks of concern on their faces. Jason motions for the crowd to quiet. He turns to Milas and Mordek.
I told you this at the beginning. Why the sudden surprised looks? Did you actually think we would stop at Alcuin?
Long seconds pass. Milas smiles.
So what is the problem, prophet? We will do just as we did in Alcuin. We will surround the city and then let your mighty God show our powers.
Milas' smile broadens as he sits down. The others, except for Jason and Aliana, also sit and break into excited conversation. Jason slams his fist on the table again, demanding silence. When the room grows quiet, he points his finger at Milas.
You missed the point, Governor. Jariah is not my God. She is our God. She is the God of the universe, the giver of life, and, if necessary, the taker of life. We are all her children.
His hand sweeps around the dining hall.
And as her children, we must learn right from wrong, good from evil, and just from unjust. She has given you the sun and the moons and all the beauty of her creations on Terratoo. She will not give you peace. Only if you fight to earn peace and freedom for all your people will you ever be able to truly appreciate what it means. There will be no more fire from the skies to force a city to its knees. You, the children of Jariah, must march into battle to win the peace that must come to Terratoo. This may not be what you want, but this is what your God demands.
Jason again slams his fist on the table. The room is quiet. Mordek is the first to speak. When he does, his voice is complacent and mocking.
What if we refuse, prophet? What if we refuse to fight your war? Will your God destroy us as well?
Mordek glares at Jason. Jason returns the glare. Katrin moves stealthily from her position at the wall. No one seems to notice her as she nears the main table. All eyes are fixed on Jason.
Yes, she will destroy every man, woman, and child on this planet, just as she destroyed the ancient pyramid. As surely as you hear my voice tonight, neither you nor any man, woman, or child on this planet will live to see the crops planted next spring if you falter in what must be done to bring peace to this wretched world.
Katrin jumps suddenly upon the table, landing just beside Jason. She crouches and snarls in warning as those sitting around the table scramble to get to their feet and away from her. Deathly silence follows. She roars an ear-piercing scream, then snarls again, baring her fangs. Wonder and fear fills the faces in the dining hall. Aliana smiles. Katrin turns to look at Jason. She licks his hand and purrs for a moment, then turns and roars again. She then lays on the table directly in front of Jason, staring at those around her. Milas nervously shakes his head, fear evident in his eyes.
All right, Prophet, we will do it your way. But should any major defeat befall you, I will call my soldiers back to Solemn.
He is bluffing, but afraid to do otherwise. Jason nods. Katrin looks directly at Milas and snarls. Milas jumps back another foot.
We are adjourned.
End of chapter 11.